bust open some some experiment that they've been working on that has nothing to do really with aliens. That's why I also ask you, is it possible that many people are simply misinterpreting what the UFO phenomenon or equating the UFO phenomenon with alien spacecraft?
Yeah.
And I think that's a gross error that people are making.
It may be, but of the thousands of eyewitnesses and all the videos and all the tape, you only need one. So in order to go that way, you have to dismiss every single one. Are you willing to accept one of 10,000 pictures of a UFO as being a legitimate UFO?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
That's right. I'm open-minded. Bring it. You know, I tell people all the time, look, just bring it to me. Just bring it. Just bring this stuff, and we'll look at it. But again, I'm not doubting that people are seeing UFOs. I'm sure they are, because by definition, that's what they are. The problem is when they take another step forward and they say, well, I'm a pilot, and I used to fly the SR-71, and nothing can move at that speed, nothing can do this, nothing piloted, correct. And then again, of course, there's so many other things you can do as well. But who knows what they're working on with laser technology, holograms, directed lightning charges. There's all kinds of different types of technology that is still top secret that we don't even know about, that appears magical or supernatural to us. But it could be very well be experimental and something that we're working on right here today. And that might be why, if the NSA is really tapping this line, and in fact, hello, I don't hear echo anymore. I guess they left. I think I'm doing what they want me to do.
There you go.
Okay, but that very well could be what's happening. And I have so many stories that I have talked to other people as well who've been in the military, and they've seen a lot of crazy things. But when we really get together as a think tank and we think about, let's be honest about what we really saw and not draw any conclusions, what did you see? And then they say, well, all I really saw was some weird craft doing something I've never seen it do before.
Yeah.
Let's leave it at that. That's all we know.
Yeah.
And when we ask the higher ups, what do we see? What do we see? We do get some strange answers. And we have asked some of the higher ups, what is this stuff? And the answers vary, because there's no doubt in my mind that whatever they're working on, it is top secret. So anyway, so what do you think about that, Daniel? What if it is just something we're doing right here on this planet, and it's just something experimental that even these pilots and these former agents and these former experimental folks just haven't seen before? Isn't that very possible?
Well, yeah, until you get to the O'Hare sighting there, where approximately 15 pilots and engineers and ground people for an airline saw a UFO hover over the tarmac for about 10 minutes and shoot through the sky and leave a hole through the clouds. I don't even think if the military had an underground base with experimental aircraft, they would take and risk one of the most congested airline tarmacs there are anywhere on the planet, O'Hare International, and put one of their craft right there. So we'd have to exclude that and put that into the pure UFO category. Now, as far as something flying around, maybe in open airspace somewhere, some vast open airspace out in the plains somewhere, possibly, but not over a crowded airspace like that. So somebody else is doing that. If the United States has some weird aircraft, or it's like the movie. What was that? It said, whatever you see.
My caller.
Whatever you see now, the technology you see now, the government's had it for 25 years. That's enemy of the state. Gene Hackman said that. So yeah. So if we're seeing stealth bombers and seeing rovers on Mars, then chances are the military is really 25 years ahead of that.
That's right. I agree totally. Because you're right. Because every time they release these secret documents, this top secret stuff, we're like, wait a minute, you had the SR-71 then?
Yeah.
Wow. We got a caller who's holding, and I apologize, caller. Hopefully you're still there.
And I want to know who's got the black markers marking everything out. Go ahead.
I know, right?
Who's doing that?
Yeah, I look at those documents all the time, and it's that person needs to stop. Hello, you're on the air.
Oh, this is Mindcore from SitCam. I just wanted to ask your guest a question.
Sure, go ahead.
I was wondering, and I'll take the answer off the air, do you have any kind of a filtration system or standard for where you get your sources? Like if someone approaches you, in the middle of the night in the street with pieces of their hair shaved off and they smell like they've soiled themselves and they start telling you about a UFO abduction, do you treat it with the same kind of care and respect that you would treat that testimony, say, from an astronomer? And like I said, I'll take the answer off the air. Thank you.
That's a very good question. What is your standard of evidence for accepting these claims as true?
You know what? I like that question too. And one of the sort of almost unwritten tenets of the Edge broadcast is that whether you are someone who's out there with, like he described, in a person in sort of a downtrodden way, I make no distinction. I'm not a respecter of persons. My point of view is that person has just as much right to say and believe what they believe as do Edgar Mitchell, Apollo 14 astronaut. And I've had several guests on there where people have called me and they said, for instance, I had a young lady call me, said she was a second witness in the Book of Revelation. Well, I gave her airtime, and because I thought, okay, well, let's hear it. Let me hear it. And and until we begin to listen to each other, and I go back to a famous Starbucks line that I saw a book in Starbucks one time. It says, listening is an act of love. So from that standpoint, I don't make a distinction between that person who nobody's ever heard of, is probably sitting in their room and probably searching the internet and probably on overload now, versus someone who's, in fact, I may actually believe them more than somebody who says, by the way, can you mention my book and my website, and I got a CD for sale, can I mention that too? I'm kind of maybe want to believe, I would actually have more hesitation that way than somebody. I'm just saying, give me your story. Let's hear your story. And you know what? And when you're open like that, then really, it really opens your view from all around and gives you a more wholesome outlook. Yeah.
And I hear you, Daniel, and I don't think that's exactly where the caller was going with this. Okay, let's say that you do allow someone on the show, and you're very open to allowing whoever. That's great. The question still remains, though, when they begin to tell their story, what is the filtration method? What is your standard for knowing what you're hearing is the truth?
Well, the only standard you can make is, I suppose, if you were an expert in the field and you've done vast amounts of research on that particular topic. I don't claim to be. I claim to be a seeker, and I'm just simply giving voice to those who may ordinarily not have a voice, or I bring a place on the web where people can come with all points of view from whatever strata. There is no filtration device. I don't believe in a filtration device, because if I did, then I would start marking off half the guests that are on the program. I'm not going to do that. And to me, that'd be half the information that people could get. So, no, there is no filtration device there. And I've heard some outrageous stories, but you know what? Even then, I have found that the most outrageous story may have just the one little nugget of truth that somebody else who's on top of the world and on their game may be missing.
Okay, well, so how many people then, I can't give a number, so I won't go there, but how often do you allow guests with an opposing opinion or opposing arguments against ufology or the belief in UFOs or against the paranormal, Bigfoot, Nessie, etc.? How often do you allow those individuals on your show to give counter arguments?
Well, you know what? The way the guest list on the Edge is recommended by the listeners. And that's one of the wonderful parts about the Edge, is that people suggest the guests. So I don't know, and almost 90% of them come just that way. So if they don't suggest somebody who, say, has an opposing viewpoint, and really I don't know what the opposing viewpoint would be, because we're not doing the show to prove that UFOs exist or that there are paranormals. We're there to listen to people's stories and look for that. And again, I go back to the thread of truth.
That's intriguing. But earlier you mentioned, I thought it was about, well, maybe, I guess you said you're a seeker of the truth, though. It sounds like now you're saying it's really just about entertainment.
Now, where did you hear entertainment in that?
You just you didn't say the word entertainment, but you said you're there for the people who already. I can't play it back now, but that's exactly what I pulled out of that. And maybe you can correct me or clarify, but it sounds like you're saying you're just really doing it just for the entertainment value.
No, I told you where our guest list comes from, and you were talking about opposing viewpoints. But I'm saying there's no viewpoint to be opposed, because I don't get on there and say there are UFOs, and if you don't believe them, don't call the program. As a matter of fact, our forum is full of people who don't agree with most of the guests we have on the show.